Hello, folks. We are here again with another show, another podcast with Galilama. We have a very interesting topic, and the topic really
Yes.
is that how do you really create a value? And there are a subset of creating value. You can create value with operation excellence. You can create value by improving things in actual structural improvement, whether that's a financial structure or physical structure. But before all that, it is very, very important that you have the right product. So now here we
Mhm.
are going to talk about the opportunities. Let's say you have some money and you want to really invest in real estate and you like commercial real estate versus residential typical single family home. What are the opportunities out there and what are the interesting opportunities which are unique, different, because you want to be doing some differentiation. There could be many, many opportunities, but today we are going to discuss top 3 to 5 opportunities which are new, upcoming, and they have a much better return on investment. And we will be talking about return on investment in the future as well and how do you measure it. But right now we're going to talk about those solid new opportunities and trends that will help you get into this market and get into the market, with a very good perspective. So once again, this is not any sort of advice. This is just a discussion between those two people who have some experience. So
Okay.
we are going to talk about what are the most interesting and futuristic opportunities in real estate investment. Is that good, Chris?
Sounds great to me.
Okay. We, in the other episodes, will talk about how do you measure investment, how do you improve investment. Now you got a facility, you got each type of facility have a different way of improvement. We will talk about those in the futuristic in our other episodes. But today, let's talk about countdown of interesting opportunities. Okay. So, Chris, if you really have to really
You
name
freeze on me?
3 top investment opportunities for a small to medium sized investor, let's talk about those and let's see that how
Rich,
do
you
you
there?
really go
I'm
about
sorry, guys.
finding those opportunities and then financing those opportunities. All right. So, Chris, what are your top 3 new and futuristic commercial opportunities you would be looking at?
Well, a few things that I'm interested in right now is I'm looking, well, obviously the multifamilies, the residential is my staple, so I'm always going to be looking into that space. But really, what I would like to look into is like warehousing, storage facilities, and actually, one thing I was just talking to somebody else who does a lot of investing was trailer parks. So those are my key things that I'm going to be looking at because I think there's a shortage of affordable housing where these manufactured homes, and if I get the parks, I can sell them the building, right? The actual structure, and then I can lease the land forever. And I don't have any maintenance with the property, so it's better than renting property and then having to fix the problems. I just lease the land forever. And as inflation happens or prices go up, my prices go up with it forever. So those are the few things. And same thing with like storage facilities, low maintenance, right? Low maintenance costs, warehousing, low maintenance costs, stuff like that. So that's really my next phase is what I'm going to start getting into. How about you, Rich?
There's no doubt multifamily, typical, everybody knows. But let's
Hmm.
not talk about multifamily today. Let's talk about
Correct.
some other type of opportunities which might be easy to buy, easy to sell, easy to improve value, enhance operation with the technology. Because now we're living in AI. These are also the type of opportunities where honestly you can cut on operation cost. Because at the end of the day, there are 2 things you have to worry about. First, how do you finance and get the funds to buy that property? And then how do you really keep it running with the least amount of cost? And then, of
Correct.
course, when you cut down, because you always talk about the top line and the bottom line. Top line is how
Correct.
much revenue you bring in. Bottom line is how much money you have to spend to sustain it. So these are the opportunities you have listed. Honestly, one of the most interesting thing in these opportunities is that you can use the new AI technology to run these opportunities. So let's just get into that and talk about one at a time. And I don't know how many we can talk. There are certainly others like adult daycare center or some sort of substance abuse centers and rehabilitation centers and some others. But let's do one by one, and we may spend 2, 3 episodes on this particular subject because this is really a loaded subject. But I think let's
Correct.
start from the one which you really like the most, and I tend to like it too. Let's start from the parks. There are different aspects of the parks that some are trailer parks, like I know somebody
Right.
who owns a piece of land and he did nothing and he just flattened the land. And then he invited the trucking companies that they come because a lot of trucks, when they're going, interstate, they need a space to rest.
That's
And you
it.
cannot just always use on the highway resting spot, especially smaller highways. He really turned into that park into a trailer park, and there's no residential in it. These are the trucking companies. The truckers come, they stay
Right.
overnight and leave. And honestly, this has been an amazing cash flow for this gentleman. He's a very
So it's
seasoned.
like a pad rent.
Yes, there are other similar type of scenarios in there. So why don't you tell me what scenario you think of when you think of a trailer park?
So the way I'm thinking of it, but I do love where you're going. The storage, not it's not technically storage, but where you're talking about having a pad where you have people who can store their tractor trailers or their boats or their, all these kind of things that's a huge market there. But what I'm thinking, only because I'm focused on the real estate market, specifically in the market I'm in Florida, there's a very huge gap for affordable housing. And what I find, what I would love to see is buy a nice lot, maybe a 25-acre lot, and throw down 100, pads for these manufactured homes where I could sell affordable housing to people and where I could get the lot lease for long term. That's something that really interests me because it for one, it will create a nice stable income for myself, but it'll also help people in some of these higher cost places where there's a shortage of, these kind of workers, right? The lower income workers, like your waiters and your waitresses for the restaurants. We have a lack of that here, where we have a lot of places, but there's nowhere for them to live close by because the housing is so expensive. Where if I could create a space where I could sell them a home for 200,000 and now they have a land lot fee of $800 a month. I will keep getting that based on, say, I have 100 units there. And if you do the math, that's a pretty substantial amount. And all I really got to do is upkeep some of the common areas, the roads and things like that. So for me, that's something I'm really starting to do a lot of background checking in on and seeing if what kind of grants I can get as well through the towns and the counties. And again, that ties into using other people's money at the same time, right? It's how can I do this with as little out of my pocket as possible? Maybe bring in a few investors and just do a small one at first, but just get it going because for me, I'm in this space. I'm in the space where I'm helping people get home. So that would be my initial look before I kind of stepped off into the next ones that we'll talk about.
Let's break it down, Chris, so people understand. So, first of all, you have to really find a piece of land which you can either lease or buy, correct? That would be the first step.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
You don't have to buy it. You can have a 5, 10, 25 year lease, correct?
We could, but I think in my case, I'd want to buy the land because I want to own the land and I want to keep charging. I
Because
want
you are
to
going to
lease
create a
the
value,
land.
you are going to create a brand, then why not buy it? But I'm just saying that you don't have to buy it because let's say if you don't have investment, you can lease it. And lease is a lot cheaper
Correct.
than buying it, at least from the
Correct.
capital point of view, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
Because if you buy it, it may be a $500,000 lot, but if you lease it, you may only have to pay the first month and the last month, and that's maybe $5,000 or something. So
Correct.
that's the first step. The next step is that you actually then do you put like a fabricated homes, prefabs, or trailers? What do you put on that, and then do you buy those or rent those? What do you go about? How do you take the next step?
Well, I looked into all the different options. Personally, I would want to put the manufactured home, maybe like double wide trailers on there, right? Really well built because they have to be down here. They have to be hurricane proof, especially down here in the Florida markets. But I want to sell them. I don't want to, with these, I don't want to do the maintenance because I have the reoccurring revenue with the land lease.
Oh.
So that's where I make the money for the
If you
long
gotta
term
sell
play.
them, then you
That's
gotta really buy the land. Then you gotta buy the land, right?
I have to buy the land in the case that
Yeah.
I'm doing it. Yes.
Okay. So in your case study, what you're doing is you're saying, okay, let's buy let's buy 2 acres of land. You don't have a big piece of land, but that land has to be in the right zone, because not
Correct.
even though we have shortage of homes, unfortunately, towns and cities are a bit stubborn of just giving you relaxation of putting low income homes everywhere. You got to put that into that multifamily, because then it comes down to some sort of approval from the city or the town. How do you deal with,
Correct.
again, I know situation in Florida may be different than situation in Massachusetts. Over here, my biggest problem would be to finding a piece of land in multifamily and then putting those homes, because these are high concentration, high density houses. We are talking about maybe couple of thousand square feet, if any, per home, and that's not going to be easy to find in like cities and town where I live. But it might
Or like
be
Shrewsbury or Northborough, they're not going to be
interesting.
willing to cooperate as much as somewhere maybe down in some of the places I live in.
Okay, so that really pigeon us into a only specific area. Okay, but
Correct.
for those people who want to invest here, they can also look at other towns and cities which are less populated. I have seen this type of scenario in other cities and towns, especially on the western Massachusetts. Now, by the
Hmm.
way, I have also, there was a place in Shrewsbury, a very nice area. There were like trailer homes for years, and they were being rented, and they were like even motel type scenario. But I have seen that that has been demolished, and now this land is for sale. And I wonder if that land they would allow for those type of uses. But anyway, that could be grandfathered, so we have to look into that.
Yeah,
But in your
I would
scenario,
definitely.
you're saying you buy a piece of land, you build smaller homes, cheaper homes, because they could be pre-built homes, and then you basically you put them on the spot, you do some sort of engineering, some sort of padding, and then you actually sell a $200,000 home instead of being a $500,000 home.
Correct. And it might cost me 100. I doubt it would even cost me 100,000 per home to put in. But really, it's the challenges are to it would be which where I have an advantage in my position where they're hard to finance those because you don't own the land. It's not real estate, right? Real estate is tied to property.
Yeah.
So I'm actually selling a structure without the land. So being in my world, I can find those people that will finance them that will make it a little bit easier for me, right? Or I could have
Yes,
all the money up
hold on a
front.
second. Wouldn't that be with land anyway? Because now you bought the land and you're gonna subdivide the land, or you're not gonna subdivide it.
I own the land, so I want to get the lot lease forever,
Huh.
right?
Okay, so
So
you will sell the trailer home, but you still get the lease for the land.
correct, forever,
Oh, that's
or until I
interesting.
sell it.
So you got two
So
in
so
one.
what I would think, yeah, so what I would think is, right, think about it this way, Rich. So I buy this land, I can do a couple things. I can help them find financing for them, which it's a little tougher, or else I could be the bank and I could hold the notes on all the properties. I invest on, say I put 10 up and it cost me $1 million, but I'm selling them at 200,000 each. So I got an extra million plus the interest. Basically, I could then sell this off as a REIT to somebody down the road, right? Use a 1031 exchange buyer and then go buy something else bigger. So, I kind of looking at it at steps of how can I kind of grow on this and maybe start with one with, like you said, maybe we start small with 10 or 15 on a couple acre, 2, 3 acre lot, whatever permitting would allow me to, right? And then maybe I seller finance these. Or I find some non-recourse lenders. That's kind of the mix. Or I do some I finance, some I find lenders for, so
Okay,
there's a bunch of different options in that place, but
so
I see a little
it's
ton of
so
cash
interesting
flow.
that everything is so deep that the time flies. So we're gonna just talk in the next few minutes only one more subject, and then I think we'll just keep rolling on that. This is a very very deep subject. So in the trailer park, in the same type of scenario, another thing would be a campground. So we
Okay.
talked about so far that we buy the land and then you either act literally, truck and trailer park, where people can park their trucks overnight and they're paying rent. Second, you actually went to the other extreme that you actually build smaller fabricated homes and sell them and then lease the land. And then the third opportunity in the same scenario could be that you could build it as a campground, that you actually only have the ground set up, and it, as long as it's a visitor spot, that people come in and they actually rent the spot from you for per night, and they bring their own buses
RV.
or RVs, they bring their own RVs, and they can do their own camping. And I have seen that's a great scenario too. What do you think about that?
I think it's a great, I went out to out west. I was in Arizona, the Grand Canyon, and we stayed at this glamping community. It was these kind of these, they were not tents, but they were these geometrical see-through so you could see the stars for miles, and they had a nice little amenity center, and they had probably had like 50 units in there, but it was expensive because the places were awesome inside, but I knew they weren't expensive to make. And I'm like, these guys are onto something, and this is genius, right? It's like a high level glamping scenario, and where the only challenge I find with that is you have to make sure you're somewhere, you got to look at your season, right? So if you're in the Northeast like you'd have to make sure that season from April to say October, right, that you can get enough money and to get your ROI under that 18 months or whatnot, whatever you're looking for your ROI to be. Me, I want to be under 18 months if possible. For me personally, I'm a little bit, you know, aggressive, I guess, with that.
Yeah, so let me
But
explain
that's
what when you say 18 months mean your total investment will be returned in 18 months. So when you buy a typical home, people have like 10 to 30-year complete return. That's the reason
correct.
it came out the 30-year mortgage. The idea is that
Hmm.
in 30 years you pay off the whole thing, you know? But and
Hmm.
likewise, people who are investors like you, they like to see 10-year because they want 10% sort of a cap rate, so it can have a 10-year total return. But 18 months
Correct.
return, my God, that's very aggressive. And those things, that's the reason we're talking about these interesting opportunities, because these opportunities, you may not be extremely successful when you get in, but once you get in and you create differentiation, you could get the ball rolling. Here's another interesting scenario in this whole thing, and that is the operation cost. In all these type of scenarios we are talking about, AI can play a very, very good role. And honestly, you will be talking to a customer service, you will be making payments, and you will be getting in and out all through AI, and you wouldn't even know it. You would think that you are talking
Correct.
to a person, but reality is you wouldn't be talking to anybody, and hence your operation cost will be extremely low.
Correct.
I mean,
Exactly.
nowadays the tools are there. It's amazing that you will not be even able to recognize that you're talking to a person or AI.
Yeah. We have a software we're working on right now, Rich, that I've downloaded all my voice into this, into the AI technology, and literally my AI doppelganger, if you will, can be talking to my clients, and it will be literally a mortgage expert, probably as good as me. And I'm not going to ever admit it would be better than me, but and you may not ever know it's not
Yeah.
me. Like I don't think I'm going to use it right away, but I definitely want to start playing around with it because my reach can go out tenfold. I can be I'm 10 different people, I'm 100 different people all in one. As long as you set those programs up right, it's definitely, if you're not embracing I don't care what you do for business, if it's real estate or what we're talking about here, you're going to be left behind. So I love that you're progressive and you're looking already ahead into taking advantage of the technologies that are available to us. And we're our generation, you're Gen X, right? You and I are Gen X, right? A lot of us, a
But
lot
Gen
of people in
Z,
our generation aren't
Gen Z is
following
doing,
into it.
yeah. Okay, but Gen Z is more into technology, and that's the reason I'm calling futuristic. So, Chris, we have a lot to talk, and we will keep talking about this subject. We cannot really talk everything in the 20 minutes. So, we are already at 20 minutes. So, why don't we call it a day today, and then we will continue talking about the other type of opportunities. We have lots of opportunities, which every one is more exciting than the previous ones. And then we'll also talk about the financing options, and then how do you improve operations.
That sounds good. I mean, just to give them a little tip and a taste, we're talking about the substance abuse houses, the adult daycares. So stay tuned for those next ones, or adult and special needs housing. There's a lot of warehousing. So stay tuned for the next ones. If you're interested in this, you're going to even be more interested in the next ones that we're we're going to be talking about.
And keep an eye on us because we would be going live soon. This is the type
Yeah,
of topics where you go live and people benefit and they ask questions. Okay? So
correct.
we are right now just going slow because this is really a charity work for us. This is not where we make money. We want to just honestly teach and train others of whatever we have learned and learn from you as well. So we'll see you next time soon.
That's it. Thank you, Rich. Appreciate you
Thank you.
guys. Thanks for tuning in.
All right, thank you.